Hey y'all, today we're going to talk about one of the most unique of the herbs found in the Appalachian Mountains. This one, well, there's no way to put it except it just looks plain freaky. This is what we call, in the Appalachian Mountains, doll's eyes. I think it's pretty obvious why it's called doll's eyes. Each of these little white berries on this odd blood red stem have a little black dot that looks like doll's eyes looking at you. The way you identify it, the leaves are a little shriveled on here because I picked it yesterday and had to drive down the mountain before I was able to get it in some water. I'll see if I can find one that, here we go. All right. I grew up thinking this was a poisonous plant. I was told these berries were poisonous, and it turns out they are, but they're not as toxic as most people think. Okay, here's a leaf. Uh, See the lobes on it. And anyway, this will grow maybe 2 feet tall at most and really stands out in the woods, obviously, because of the red stem and the absolutely bizarre looking berries. In Europe, this is often called Baneberry. It is Actea. There are two species of Actea. One that's native to Europe, where the berries are, I believe, black, and the one that's native to America, where the berries are white. As far as the usefulness of this plant, it is actually very useful when used properly. And as far as the toxicity, Plants for a Future, which is one of my favorite references, I'll read a little bit from here in a minute, says that all parts of the plant are toxic, but it also lists them as having medicinal uses. So it's one of those things where, oh, what was it? Paracelsus said the dose determines toxicity, obviously. Small amounts of this plant would be used. Miss Greaves, writing in 1931, didn't list any toxicity whatsoever. So it's not as scary as I was led to believe as a child, but should be used with caution, obviously. Michael Moore, also the herbalist, he barely gave mention to any toxicity. He said it was not a very dangerous plant. So you're going to have to look into that yourself if you want to use this plant and make your own decision. Like poke, for instance, pokeweed is a toxic plant that I enjoy as both food and medicine. This one may be one you want to look into. Let's talk about its virtues, okay? So we'll start with what Michael Moore said. He often combined it with black cohosh. That's Semisafuga. And he said that Actea was particularly useful for anorexia nervosa with chronic simple pelvic irritabilities, acute gastritis with uterine reflux, muscular pain, dull aching rheumatic pains, acute and inflammatory, uterus atony with dull aching, apathy with pale face, depression, atonic digestion, headache, and reflex uterine. Okay, what does all that mean? Well, this plant is antispasmodic. Okay, it's good for pain. It's good. It's anticonvulsive. It can help stop convulsions. It's a menagogue, which means it can bring on menstruation. It has a lot of uterine effects, which is why it's often combined with black cohosh, and they're actually very somewhat closely related plants. It's what we would call mildly hypnotic, which means it has sort of a slight narcotic effect. Okay, it's oxytocic and stimulant. Oxytocin means it's going to stimulate oxytocin. Yet another reason why it's combined with black cohosh. Decoction of the root, this is according to Plants for Future, decoction of the root has been used in to treatment of coughs and colds, rheumatism, and syphilis. It's also used in small doses to ease the pain of childbirth and used as a stimulant to revive and rally patients at the point of death. An infusion of the roots has been used externally to treat itchy skin and as a gargle for sore throats. An infusion of the leaves was drunk by women of some Indian tribes in order to stimulate the flow of milk. That would be a galactagogue. All right, so it's obviously a very useful plant, but it says in the same source, all parts of the plant are toxic, causing severe gastrointestinal inflammation and even skin blisters if you react to it. It's Probably one of those that's going to be very individualistic. It's not an herb I really use, to tell you the truth, but I think it's a very interesting herb, and it's one that should definitely be known. Obviously, it would be a good if you had a really bad cough, like whooping cough. So this is one you could use if you had really bad rheumatic pains, various conditions. Miss Greaves in a modern herbal from 1931. She actually Well, she talks about the two varieties of the Actea, the Baneberry, and says that the white one, the one we have here, was also referred to as white cohosh. So closely does it resemble in action black cohosh. She was growing both of them in her garden, and she said that the American species, once again, the doll's eyes, yes, the American species is considered by the natives a valuable remedy against snake bite, especially that of a rattlesnake. Hence it is with several other plants, sometimes known as one of the rattlesnake herbs. It was also called Herb Christopher in England. Um, the name is Actea, comes from the Greek acte, meaning the elder. Um, and interestingly enough, she says that toads are attracted to the scent. I don't find it to have much scent, which is odd because many sources refer to it as being a bad smelling plant that'll actually keep bugs away. But I honestly don't seem to find much scent at all. But apparently another name for it was toad root. So as you can see, really interesting herb. Definitely a curiosity when people are walking through the woods. They're always asking, what is that plant? And one that, yeah, you probably want to tell kids berries are poisonous and don't eat them. I frankly cannot imagine why anybody would eat one of these. That, to me, is about the scariest looking berry I've ever seen. So, but I suppose if you have a particularly strange kid, tell them not to eat these berries. But other than that, nice useful herb, probably underutilized, and there are thousands of these growing all around my house in the Appalachian Mountains. So it's one I need to make more use of as well. All right, y'all, have a great week, and I will see you next time with another herb lesson.